What's going on, everybody? Bobbybarks here, and welcome to my review for HBO's The Last of Us Episode 3. If you've not watched the episode or caught up on the show, be careful of spoilers going forward. Firstly, it's taken me a bit of a while to consider this review. After initially watching the episode, I was surprised that there was no interaction between Bill and Ellie, and those interactions were some of my favourite scenes in the game. So to not have this replicated on screen left me somewhat disappointed, with probably an unfair judgment on the episode. I've gone on to watch the episode on another 2 occasions, and I've tried to distance myself from the game influencing my opinion, treating the episode on its own merits. Starting with Bill and Frank, audiences around the world have been left so utterly transfixed by the power of love demonstrated between them that it's been an overwhelmingly welcome decision for an appropriate amount of time to be given to their tale. As an avid fan of the game, I had no idea of the emotional gut punch that was in store, leaving me moved beyond measure by the tender love story shared between Bill, Nick Offerman, and Frank, Murray Bartlett. In a world where there should be no hope, where a fungal, parasitic infection has caused an unstoppable pandemic, Bill and Frank build a home against all the odds, vowing to protect one another and successfully doing so until they share their final breaths as old men who've lived a satisfying life together. Their story is greatly expanded upon for the TV adaptation, as in the game, Frank takes his own life after being infected, distanced from Bill. With the episode directed by It's a Sin's Peter Hoare, the scene where Bill and Frank exchange their vows is much more meaningful, given gay marriage in real life was only legalised in the US in 2015. So with the show commencing the outbreak in 2003, it essentially means in the Last of Us universe, the marriage isn't exactly legal. The evolved montage relationship reminds me of Pixar movie Up, which showed Ellie and Carl's relationship from childhood to the former's funeral in old age. We have a feeling the rawness of Bill and Frank's tale, the beauty of Nick and Murray's performances, poignancy of the script, and its impeccable execution is going to stay with viewers for a long time. Their first meeting occurs shortly after the outbreak when Frank is stuck in a trap laid by Bill for anyone who approaches his town, falling into a deep hole in the ground. Rather than shoot Frank, Bill brings him into his house, letting him shower and treating him to a hot gourmet meal, paired perfectly with a smooth wine demonstrating his taste for the finer things. After dinner, Frank is desperate to have a tinker on Bill's piano before the homeowner takes over playing a sweet rendition of Linda Ronstadt's Long, Long Time, which was released in 1970. Will we ever be able to listen to this song again and not think about Bill and Frank? It was also heard playing over the closing sequence, and apparently it was a suggestion of Broadway legend Seth Rosetsky. He was challenged to come up with a song about lifelong loss and longing by Craig Mazin and immediately replied with Long, Long Time. Talking on the HBO Last of Us podcast, Mazin said, "I'd forgotten this song existed, but it couldn't have been more perfect. The lyrics are someone saying, everyone says it will be okay, love will find me, pain and heartache and loss and disconnection will heal. No it doesn't, no it's not. The person that I longed for from afar, I will love them forever in the most unrequited manner." Stirred by Bill's performance on the piano, Frank kisses him before the pair sleep together for the first time. Cut to several years later, and the couple are now living together and caught up in a heated argument over Frank wanting to spruce up their neighbourhood before he reveals, much to Bill's fury, that he's been in contact with a woman via the radio, which Tess, who is shortly welcomed for a meal on their property, along with her partner, Joel. The years continue to pass, with Bill sustaining a gunshot wound when raiders try and fail to infiltrate the heavily guarded perimeter around the town, and Frank managing to save his life. Further down the line, Frank is in a wheelchair and suffering from a debilitating health condition, spending his days painting while Bill cares for his every need. After everything that they go through in their lives, the strength of Bill and Frank's relationship is summarised in a single line that the former says to his partner, "I was never afraid until you showed up." With the planet ravaged beyond recognition, swarmed by people infected by cordyceps, and human beings willing to pillage and inflict violence to get what they want, Bill has no fear until he has someone who he's terrified of losing. There's plenty of partnerships in the game and in the show. Sarah and Joel, Tess and Joel, Ellie and Joel, and now we have Bill and Frank, something we didn't specifically get in the game. The Last of Us loves to give us beautiful, messy and complicated relationships and then rip our hearts out. After all, in the land of The Last of Us, many people's stories and the connections that they are made in life, both before the pandemic and during it, will have been forgotten. So to take a moment to celebrate the joy and purity of love feels extraordinarily special indeed. Although this was Bill and Frank's episode, it was also the episode that truly begins Joel and Ellie's relationship and journey further. After the loss of Tess last week, we only briefly catch up with Ellie and the grieving Joel at the start of the episode. The playfulness of Ellie on the Mortal Kombat arcade machine and getting in a car for the very first time, the little dad jokes in Cumberland Farms, is there anything bad in here? Just you. That look from Pedro Pascal when Ellie responds to his list of rules going forward. Their lives are now entwined like Bill and Frank. But will they get the same happy ending? Neil Druckmann admits on the Last of Us podcast that he did wrestle with any changes in the TV show from the game, and that the question he always came back to was, how much do we gain? It probably wasn't a difficult decision to make once the final scripts were finished for episode 3. It is such a beautiful story that explores the complexity of love, the happiness and pain, said Druckmann. It's a happier ending, and it's also one that elevates Ellie and Joel's story, he concludes. Not only do we witness the parallels between Bill and Frank and Joel and Ellie, we see how Bill's letter shakes and inspires Joel to take a chance on Ellie. This isn't the tragic ending at the end of the play, says Bill. He is talking about the joy and fullness of his life with Frank, but there is a double meaning. His actions and words will also move Joel to continue his mission. So will there be a better TV episode in 2023? And should this one rank amongst the greatest of all time? I guess only time will allow us to answer those questions properly, but the fact that we can ask them with a straight face is a testament to the power and impact of The Last of Us Episode 3. A beautiful love story between Murray Bartlett and Nick Offerman wasn't what we were expecting from a TV series about a fungal apocalypse, but this is a TV episode that'll undoubtedly win awards.